And we're back with a key voice in the Democratic Party, New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. Welcome, Senator. I want to start with this question of confirmations. It does not sound like the Senate Majority Leader is going to slow the pace of the confirmations.
No, it's frustrating to me because I've only been down here for 3 years, but I think people forget that when you say something, it doesn't disappear. And just in 2009, Mitch McConnell was the person that's saying, hey, we should get all the ethics information in before we do the hearings. I just was reviewing his letter this morning. And the problem is, as I think you pointed out, is these people that Donald Trump has put up as his appointment to his cabinet are not like President Obama's people. These are people who are billionaires and have vast holdings, vast wealth. And the American people have a right to know if they're going to be entering into those offices with conflicts of interest. And so I don't want to see a Secretary of State who is not just doing America's business, but also has holdings or outcomes in Chinese companies or in Russian companies. So this is, to me, astounding that we would actually have hearings and not know the fullness of people's potential conflicts of interest and be able to ask them about them.
What about Senator McConnell's point that you want to get the national security team up and running, get them in there because it's a dangerous world and the new president has to have his team in place?
Well, again, this is not a lot to ask that people give transparency. It's frustrating enough to me that we have a president of the United States who is the chief executive officer and the commander-in-chief who could potentially have conflicts with Russia and others that won't release their tax returns for us to see them. But it's another thing when we have a tradition in this country. We literally have a law, Ethics in Government Act, that puts specific requirements on transparency that are not being supported by Mitch McConnell right now. This is not a Republican or a Democrat thing. This is about national security and knowing the conflicts of people that are going to have to deal with other countries and negotiate with them.
So what are Democrats going to do about it?
Well, again, Chuck Schumer is in negotiations right now, trying not to slow down the process, but create a substantive process that allows for the complete transparency. You have the Independent Office of Government Ethics saying the same thing, writing a very dramatic letter that this violates 40 years of tradition. So we're going to continue to push. And we've already seen the Republican Party overreach the House GOP, trying to gut their independent ethics oversight. And enough people spoke out about it that they finally backed up. This has got to be one of those cases that we don't put a billionaire in a place who has financial interests in other countries who could really undermine what's best for this country.
You're on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Rex Tillerson, the former Exxon head, is going to be appearing before the committee next week. What do you want to hear from him?
Well, I think he's got a lot to talk about. I sat down with him this week and reviewed to him a lot of areas from, he was with ExxonMobil. Climate change is real and the science of climate change was real. It was nice to hear him address that, and I think he should address that in a public forum. His relationship with Putin is very important, especially given the kind of things that Donald Trump has been saying. And there are other issues on hotspots in our country around global issues, human rights issues, and more. So we should have a thorough vetting of the Secretary of State candidate, and I'm looking forward to doing that.
What do you make of Donald Trump's argument that that Rex Tillerson has a relationship with Vladimir Putin, and that's great? You need to have a relationship with your adversaries. That's a version of what Barack Obama said when he was criticized for saying, "I'll sit down with any adversary because that's the thing to do, not shut them off."
Well, first of all, again, it goes to number one, the transparency of his business relationships in Russia, and we want to make sure we get to the bottom of that. But again, this is an adversary that we want to know that he's going to be able to represent the United States of America and our interests and not be compromised by his relationship, especially that right now we have serious hotspots in places like Syria and places like the Ukraine.
Is there anything in his character that would make you think that he would be?
No, again, I actually affirm some of the things Mitch McConnell said. Not that I'm going to vote for Rex Tillerson, but a president, we elected him, he should have his team. But the American public must make sure that there are no serious conflicts of interest that are going to undermine us overall. Those should come out in a hearing.
Let me ask you about the Affordable Care Act. Republicans are going to repeal it, it looks like, in some form. Democrats I've talked to seem pretty happy about the fact that Republicans are in a bit of a fix. They think they're going to get a political penalty for repealing and not replacing it. You have talked a lot about working with the other side. Any chance Democrats are going to help Republicans with their replacement? There are a lot of Democrats who have criticisms about the Affordable Care Act.
This is what frustrates me is often these are positioned in a way of politics. Yeah. The effort to repeal Obamacare right now without a plan to replace it, this shouldn't be about politics. This is about real people in America who will be hurt immediately. You have the American Medical Association, who is against Obamacare, saying don't repeal this without having a replacement plan. You have doctors associations, nurses associations, hospital associations, all screaming, even some fellow Republicans, what are you trying to do? You're going to repeal this law, which is going to plunge many Americans into health crisis. This is akin to shoving someone off the cliff, and as they're falling down, saying, don't worry, we're going to figure this out before you get to the bottom. And so my plan is very simple. And I think my fellow Democrats agree with me, and hopefully some Republicans who've been speaking out against not doing it this way, is we're going to do everything we can to stop them. If they have a plan, put up your plan. Show the American people. Donald Trump says we're going to have health care and it's going to be terrific. Well, show me what that is.
You know, John Boehner was criticized once for saying, measure Republicans by what they keep Barack Obama from doing. Is that the new way to measure Democrats, from what they keep Donald Trump from doing?
You know, I go home to my home city of Newark, New Jersey. There are people there that don't care about politics. They're trying to make their lives better. What Mitch McConnell has done, and what I've watched, even sometime when I was mayor of my city, when he came into a position when America was in a financial free fall, there was crisis all over this country. He announced to America that the #1 priority he had was keeping President Obama from getting a second term. That is irresponsible, and that is dangerous. My #1 responsibility is finding ways to make a difference in the lives of ordinary Americans. And what the Republicans are doing in just the first days of Congress, by repealing Planned Parenthood, by putting the healthcare system in crisis, that is reckless and dangerous, and I'm going to fight that.
All right, and we've run out of time. Thank you, Senator, and we'll be back in a moment.